Is it Robert Thomas season? It is almost Robert Thomas season.
Hey, this is Brayden Chen. Subscribe to Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here in the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Happy almost Robert Thomas season. Yes, I have my knockoff Robert Thomas sweater behind me because Robert Thomas has been on my mind. Whoa, hell no. But I am so excited for this season. I'm more excited that right now it looks like our boy Robert Thomas will be on Team Canada for the Olympics. So that has me also very excited. But in all seriousness, I cannot wait to see what Robert Thomas does this upcoming season. There is no doubt, it's inevitable that he is the best player on the Blues. Personally, if I were to go top 3 players on the Blues, healthy, of course, I would go Robert Thomas, Jordan Binnington, and Colton Parayko. And it's ironic, right, that all 3 are going to probably be on Team Canada for the Olympics. So personally, yes, I am so excited. But for Robert Thomas, last season, I really wanted him to be a little bit more selfish. What does that mean? Well, it means that I don't want him to always be the playmaker. I want him to be the one that takes the shot on goals. I want him to be able to maybe have some more time with the puck, bring it up the ice rather than just passing. And we saw that out of him. And I think for me, I am just seeing Robert Thomas improve so much as a player. And he's such a good team player. I always say how selfless he is because he is selfless. He's a very selfless player. But now at age 26, you need to be a little bit more selfish. And last season, we saw Robert Thomas have 21 goals, a little bit less from the season prior. He had 26 then. So you might be wondering, Hale, he scored less goals. So how come you're, saying that he played a little bit more selfishly? In a good way, of course, because he did. I just saw him make tons of improvements. Maybe he didn't have more shots than last season. Last season was exceptional, okay? And I'm talking about the 23-24 season. However, I just saw him play a little bit different of a game. And don't forget that he was hurt, okay? I feel like that's something that a lot of people forget, that he was out for about a month. Like, he was hurt. And again, I give him all of the credit for how he rehabbed as fast as he did. Like, that was insane. But I think for me personally, I just want to see him playing the way that he did in the back half of the season. He just looked phenomenal. He is one of the most underrated players in the NHL. He is. I will never understand why people don't give him the credit, because I think that he is, I don't want to say, he's a starter on the Blues. Now, was he a star in the NHL? I don't know. But, he got married. Congratulations, Robert Thomas. I just saw that. That's some new public news. Congratulations. That's why all the players were at that wedding. It was Robert Thomas's wedding. Wow. I'm 26 and I'm not married. He's 26 and married, so good for you, Robert Thomas. Anyways, that just kind of popped up on my feed. I'm like, oh, Robert Thomas got married. Good for him. But anyways, when we're looking at line combinations for this upcoming season, I still believe that he will be the 1C. It's going to be Robert Thomas, maybe Boucher to his left, maybe Jimmy Snuggerud to his right. I would also see a situation where it is Robert Thomas, 1C, Dylan Holloway to his left, and Snuggie to the right. Or a situation where it's Boucher on his left, Thomas centering, and maybe Jordan Kyrou on the right. There's a whole different scenarios, right? But that's where I see it at. Robert Thomas is such a good player, and he's a franchise type of player where I really only can see him being on the Blues, even in his late career when they give him an extension again, right? I just don't know necessarily what the expectations for goals are with him. And I know that sounds like a silly question or a silly statement. What do you mean you don't know what that means? Well, I don't know what that means. Because I think it's really easy for you and I to kind of say, well, I think he can score this many goals. It's not always the case. I mean, the most goals that he ever scored in a single season is when he played all 82 games for that one season, 23-24, which was 26 goals. And, I'm not saying that he's the type of player that you have to hope gets at least 20, but that's how it's been looking really for him. I mean, he's an assist machine. In 2022, he had 57 assists and 20 goals. And in the past 2 seasons, he's had 60 assists. So, yes, he is a huge asset offensively. I mean, racking up 81 points this season, 86 points last season. Will he make it a third season with having 80 plus points? I don't know. But what I do know is that obviously his strong suit is assisting, it's setting up the play. And obviously, as a center, that's a really important thing to be able to do. So he does his job. But my question is, are we going to be setting too high of an expectation on Robert Thomas? Or do we just accept the fact that he might be a 20 plus ish goal scorer? And even if that's the case, that's okay with me too. I think with him, I think he honestly improved a lot on his puck control. I think that his passing game just has gotten better and better. We see this every season. He makes some really clean passes, which then allows for a winger to make a goal. But I think even with him shooting, right, and his shooting percentage, it's around 14 and a half last season. And again, the exception of the season was the season prior. He just had such a good year that year. It was such a great season. But other than that, I mean, he's just such a consistent player. Now, am I going to say that he's probably one of our better guys on the faceoffs? Absolutely. But again, he's such a well-rounded player. And I love that word, well-rounded player. He's a player that honestly doesn't really seem to have a negative, well, no, because even defensively, I think he plays well. I just think he's a well-rounded player. How about that? I think he's a well-rounded player. And for that, I give Robert Thomas so much credit. It's not easy, honestly, at the end of the day, to be a well-rounded player because you have guys that are two ways, right? He overall is just good at everything he does, whether you need him on special teams, a power play, penalty kill, obviously being in the 1C position, having to drop back defensively. Like he's just good at whatever you need, face-offs. Now, what I will say is that I think Braden Shen is the best player on the team when it comes to face-offs. I think that he's exceptional in that. However, I don't think he should be the 2C. I think he should be a 3C or a 4C. I know there is kind of like a little bit of a talking point where, Shenny was going to be a winger, and I know that this is not the episode for that. But I do want to say that sometimes you have to move players around. But again, I think that when it comes to our face-offs, we actually have a lot of guys on the team that are good in that, which is better than a lot of other teams. I mean, the Blues, honestly, in my opinion, they struggle when it comes to certain things like the power play, the penalty kill. Well, they got better on the penalty kill and the power play, but not the best. Face-offs, though, like they're really good when it comes to face-offs. So I'll give them that. Like that is something where I'm not ever really concerned about. But when it comes to Robert Thomas, like he is the future captain. Can we all agree on that? Do you think that Robert Thomas will be captain of the Blues one day? And if you do, comment below a yes or a no, because I truly believe that he's going to be the captain relatively soon. There might be a trade with Braden Shen. I don't know. I don't want Braden Shen to be traded. I'm just saying that if there was a reason for Shenny not to be on the team, I could 100% see Robert Thomas be in the captain position, which I think he would be very good at. I'm going to continue to talk more about Robert Thomas and some expectations and goals for him for this upcoming season. But first, I want to talk to you about my friends. Notice how I have a lot of friends. Well, this is one of my favorite friends. This is my friends over at Gametime. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories and not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Gametime comes in. Gametime makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime. And you can save up to 60% off with their killer last minute deals. Personally, I am so tired of scrolling. My time is being wasted. I'm getting annoyed. I want a place that is convenient, it's easy and accessible, and that's why Gametime is the app for me. So take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets and show tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. When it comes to Robert Thomas, RT season, as I say, of course there's going to be expectations. How many goals will he score? Well, I asked you all on social media, Locked On Blues, which is the Twitter account of this podcast. I know it's very simple. Locked On Blues here, Locked On Blues on Twitter. But I want to ask you questions every day leading up to the season because I love getting your responses. So, how many goals will Robert Thomas score this upcoming season? I predicted, by the way, 29 goals. I think he's going to score a lot of goals. Dylan, who will be on the episode tomorrow, said that he will be scoring 33 goals and 63 assists. I love it. FOP says 28 goals. Oh, I love this account. Robert Thomas, the Tank Engine, says 30. We have Currency S. He said 31 along with 70 plus assists. If he stays healthy all year, this is the year the rest of the league takes notice of how elite he really is. Willing says 27. Glenn says 25 goals and 74 assists. James says 31. Oh, Justin! 38 goals and 75 assists. Oh my goodness, Justin. That's crazy. We have somebody that says 2 at least. And then we have Bruce Wayne. I love Bruce Wayne. Shout out Bruce. 34. 38 goals. Justin. Whoa. Oh my goodness. That's a lot of goals. I don't know if we're going to have that happen, but whoa. Now, are we counting playoffs with that? Oh my goodness. I'm going to say 29 because I really think that this is the season, as another user commented, that the league will see how talented he is. I mean, I hope that he will be healthy all season long. We love a healthy Robert Thomas, but I really do believe that this is the season. Like, I understand his assists. 60 plus assists the past 2 seasons is phenomenal in its own. 80 plus points the past 2 seasons. Phenomenal. But could you imagine Robert Thomas like getting 90 points? Whoa. People would notice. And I really do believe it is possible. He is my favorite player for a reason. He has all the attributes that you want to see in a hockey player. But I love that a lot of you, besides the one that said at least 2, obviously, but I love that a lot of you have such good expectations for him, high ones, not because you feel like he needs to prove something, but because you know that he can do it. His game is elite. It is. It's elite here in St. Louis. We notice it all the time. But now it's time for the rest of the NHL to take notice. I mean, this is a player that in my opinion, just doesn't get talked about enough because he's not playing in a big market like a Boston or Toronto. If you put Robert Thomas on the Maple Leafs, people would be talking about him nonstop. Nonstop. And I kind of like that he's here with us. I kind of like that we're in a smaller market. I kind of like that we have him as our little secret weapon because, yes, he is underrated nationally, not to us here in St. Louis, but in a national scale. Yeah, he is underrated because people probably just don't know him, and that's okay with me. I think at the end of the day, when you have a player like a Robert Thomas, who people may not know, people don't know him not because they choose not to know him. As I stated, just a smaller market, not, whatever, used to it at this point. I just believe that when he ends up getting 90 plus points this upcoming season, every single person nationally will be talking about how great he is and about how they can't believe that they didn't know this about him. Like I'm telling you that you're going to get that narrative. I can't believe how good he turned out. Well, he's always been a good player, okay? That's number 1. Wow. I could go on and on and on about this. You might have noticed it got darker. I had a workout class and I messed up my timing and I had to run to it, so I'm back. But let's continue where I left off. When it comes to Robert Thomas, and I know I just broke down, how many goals he scored in the past couple seasons, assists, and so much more. I think it's really important for all of us to keep in mind that, let's go say, he doesn't score 29 goals or he doesn't have 60 assists, right? And it's a little bit lower. That doesn't mean that he's not as good as a player as we all say that he is. I think that it's really rare, honestly, where you have a player like Robert Thomas who does produce a lot and doesn't get the recognition. It's a really interesting concept. And I talk about this a lot with people, not just, my Blues friends, but I talk about this with people that are fans of other teams. It's funny. And I know I bring up certain teams a lot, like when I talk about the big teams that people know, like the Maple Leafs nationally. But imagine, I'm telling you, just imagine if Robert Thomas put up the numbers that he did with the Blues on the Maple Leafs. And imagine, seriously, how much people would talk about him nationally. And it is frustrating for me because I'm always vouching for Robert Thomas. Like, I will go up to people and I do like hockey trivia stuff all the time. And it happened today. I mentioned Robert Thomas's name and somebody said, "Who is that?" And I'm like, okay, cool. I also mentioned Kyle Connor's name, and that person didn't know who that was either. So that made me feel a little bit better. Maybe they just didn't know hockey. But the point is that I am surprised how little people really know about stars on other teams. I think with Jordan Binnington, the reason why maybe he is more of a popular name when it comes to the Blues is because of a couple of things. One, it's his emotional outbursts that he used to have. Like, we were so close to getting a goalie on goalie fight with him and Marc-Andre Fleury when Fleury was was he with the Penguins or Golden Knights then? Or the Wild? Whatever. Either way. But that didn't happen because of the refs, which sucked. Um, the point is is that when you have a player that catches headlines for doing the not norm, and in that case, it was very not norm, yeah, you're not gonna ignore it. You're gonna talk about it. So for Biddington's case, besides him winning the Stanley Cup his rookie season, taking the team to the cup, you have to remember that our boy Jake Allen started off the regular season and Biddington stepped up big time when, Jake was slumping a little. And again, I think that you have to keep in mind at the same time, while it was Biddington's rookie season, it was also Robert Thomas's rookie season. And a lot of people, oddly enough, forget that because I get it. In the playoffs, I love Robert Thomas, but it's not like he made like the big impact, right? You had guys like Patrick Maroon, Jaden Schwartz. Like you had different players that really stood out. And again, not a diss at all on Robert Thomas, but you more so remember who had the best rookie season on the team in the playoffs, and that was Jordan Bin. But I think at the end of the day, when I talk to people about Robert Thomas and what he does for this team, it's undeniable the amount of respect that he has from different national media members. As I speak to people about him, and everyone says the same thing that, at the combine, nicest guy, even, playing juniors, all that, worked hard. And you kind of get a sense of how a player's going to be earlier in their career, right? Before they go to the NHL. And I know that might sound a little funky, right? Like, Hale, what does that even mean? Well, I do a lot of stuff when it comes to prospects, right? I do draft coverage. I'm always at the draft, whether it's in person, remote, you name it. And you kind of study these players, right? And you kind of get to know, who they are, all that stuff, right? And you want a guy that has a good work ethic because once you get to the National Hockey League, everything changes because that's when you have money. And he was on, as I mentioned, Robert Thomas was on the London Knights. Yes, that was also, listen, OHL, maybe it's not as competitive as it used to be, in just in my opinion, but it's still a very respectable league, okay? So yes, London Knights. And also too, and people forget this, and like again, this is going to be like the most like obscure thing, but he was on the Hamilton Bulldogs for a little bit too. I know that's like super random, but I always like forget that because whenever I think about his time in the OHL, I'm always like, oh, London Knights, London Knights. And then I'm like, oh, wait, no, he was on the Bulldogs too for a bit. But he didn't play with the Thunderbirds. He actually started right out playing with the Blues in the NHL. So again, when you think about Robert Thomas and you think what he's accomplished, it's a lot. It is quite a lot. And in the playoffs, by the way, and I know I said that he wasn't a standout player. And again, I am not trying to diminish what he did. He played in 21 games, okay? 1 goal, 5 assists, 6 points. But that's how we know Robert Thomas. We know him as an assist guy. And not for nothing, but it's not like in the playoffs, he really, had a big standout. I mean, honestly, the most amount of points that he's had in the playoffs were this past season with 8 points, with 7 games played, 2 goals, 6 assists. I mean, he's played the 21 games when they won the cup, 8 games the next season, the 4 games. Oh, that wasn't good when it got swept. The season after, 12 in was that bubble? No, that was after bubble hockey with only 6 points, 2 goals, 4 assists. So the point is that he is still your assist guy, still a playmaking guy. I mean, and the reason why I crack up about the Hamilton Bulldogs, that was like the best he's ever done, by the way, in the playoffs. He played in 21 games, 12 goals, 20 assists, 32 points. So I bring that up just because of the pure fact of like, whoa, he did really well in those playoffs. But yeah, overall, I mean, I could talk about Robert Thomas all day, and I could. And I know sometimes my thoughts with him are all over the place, but the reality is that he's such a good player that I feel like needs more recognition. Come on, guys. Give my boy Robert Thomas more credit. I will talk to you later. And like always, how I end every episode of this podcast, let's go Blues.